Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are in the book of Isaiah, the prophet, and we're in chapter 2. And we have the prophecy of Christ's kingdom here, and also his judgment on these heathens out here. Okay? There's some very used scriptures that pop up again and again. And here they are in the old book of Isaiah, and they pop up in the New Testament and the book of Revelation, etc. And so it's a vivid description, and this is most of this is not similitude. This is the real deal here. So here we go in chapter 2 in the book of Isaiah, verse 1. The word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem, period. And it shall come to pass in the last days. Okay, I'm going to emphasize it here and be looking for that term because that means a future prophecy. Okay, and this is over Mount Zion. This is a creation of Jesus Christ when he returns. We have a vivid description of that in 2nd Esdras, okay, and we'll be doing that prophecy. But here they're sending us to Micah 4:1. Okay, we just studied that. So into it says, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. That is the last days. That is the New Jerusalem temple. Come to earth, Jesus Christ on his throne, ruling and reigning, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, forever. 3, and this is the same description that's throughout the Bible. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. So that's his land over there. That belongs to Jesus Christ, and the world's going to find that out. It doesn't belong to any individual down here. It will belong, as we will have right to enter into by being saved through Christ. We will have the right to enter in through the doors of the New Jerusalem temple. And here in 4 is this, he is Jesus, and he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Now that's a famous prophecy about, of course, after the Battle of Armageddon, after Christ puts the nations in their place and rules the world with a rod of iron. And so, in other words, there's going to be wars and up and until the end, till he returns. And then when he establishes the New Jerusalem, they will learn war no more. Okay? 5, it says, O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the Lord. Okay, that's the remnant. That's the people that know Jesus Christ. And that is going to be the fulfillment of all things. All right. Now in 6, we go back to him coming here to correct the world. Okay, so what about it? What about Jacob and Israel and what's going on over there in the Middle East now in Rothschild Boulevard? And all their idols over there, and all their money and their wealth, all the banks up and down Rothschild Boulevard. Yeah. Rothschilds own the big banks. They own the Federal Reserve. And I don't care what they say. They own the gold of the world. Yes, sir. The Antichrist is coming from that bloodline. Yes. But here it is in 6. Therefore thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob, because they be replenished from the east. And replenished in what? In idolatry and the mystery religions of Babylon. Okay? Back into the scriptures. And are soothsayers like the Philistines. Yeah, that's Dagon and the fish god that came out of the sea and taught man all the new technologies, and they prophesy here by contacting these fallen angels. All right. And then it even gets worse, because when you're in that religion, you diddle with kids. All right? So they are soothsayers like the Philistines, and they please themselves in the children of strangers. Okay, that is child molesting. That's what it is. And it's not just here. This isn't just one line about this trafficking, slave trafficking, molesting children. Listen, the UN calls it intergenerational sex. They say that's the right. That's your right. Yeah. And you're seeing the fruit of that all over the United States. So here it is again. And when you do this, you call down God's judgment right on top of your head. And that means any land that's doing this to children. Okay? And I got news for you, rich man. You deserve what you're going to get from Christ, because he's coming back this time with judgment, and you will not be slapping him around. And you won't be putting him on no cross either. All right, so there's that. Okay, well, and what about these people? Are they broke? Are they little farmers over there in the Middle East? No. Listen to this. Their land also is full of silver and gold. Neither is there any end of their treasures. Their land is also full of horses. Neither is there any end of their chariots. Oh, well, that's nice. They're rich men. They're rich men. 8, it says, their land also is full of idols. They worship the work of their own hands, that which their own fingers have made. And that includes the great computer. That includes all the robots. That includes all the drones. That includes all the technology, including putting it inside people, like the Mark of the Beast technology that we got going on. They worship that. They say we're transhumanist. We're going to become gods. We're going to become gods in the Darwinian theory. Oh, yes, we worship the works of our hands. It also comes down to just the plain talking idols, just like the old days. It ain't any different. It's deviltry. Okay, 6, and here's the people that are bowing to their idols here, including that idol that's going to be sitting on the Temple Mount. The false prophet and his idol and the Antichrist. They're going to be worshipped here. Listen to this in 9. Well, it says 6, but it's actually it's actually 9. And the mean man boweth down, and the great man humbleth himself. Therefore forgive them not. Okay, so they're practicing idolatry. The mean man is the average man, not an angry man, but a mean as in angry. And here is the great man. He's the rich man. The mean man is the average man. So they're all doing the idolatry. Okay? So then it even gets worse. Over there, over here, over the world. Because they're all going down into their bunkers. They got great caverns, great mountains dug out, military bases everywhere, bunkers everywhere to hide from him that's coming. It ain't going to do him any good, Lord, that you're going to get him. Anyway, the Lord's going to get him. Listen to this. In 10, new paragraph. Enter into the rock and hide thee in the dust, for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty. Yep, that's the second coming. They're up here diddling with kids. They're destroying people. They're destroying the widow, the fatherless, stealing the lands, destroying the farms, destroying people's ability to make a living and even eat and breathe. Yeah, he's coming back, and there's going to be no helping you. What about the arrogant people that believe they're going to become a god? 11, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. And what day is that? That is the day of the Lord. Okay. In 12 it goes on. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty, and upon every one that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. Yes, there, believe it or not, in this day of turmoil, there is a whole elite coven of people out here that believe they're having victory through Satan or some of the other gods. Doesn't matter what name you want to call them, Baal, Zoroastria, whether you believe you're collectively going to be a god through Darwinism, whatever your problem is, or if you're just hardcore Luciferian, you're going to be brought low. Now, here we go with the groves. And these are sacred trees in the planting of groves where the idols go and where the sacrifice is made. That's not beating gums. That's the real world of the occult religions. 13, and upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan. You know, it's interesting because this Bashan, that's the kingdom of Og the giant. His bed was 17 feet long by 6 feet wide. And those measurements is in the Old Testament. And here he was king here. He was overthrown. And this is their sacrificial places. This is where they throw babies in the fire. Now, this is the real truth, folks. This ain't a movie. This is the real religion. Okay, and another thing about their groves. In 14, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up. Lifted up to what? To idolatry. They're worshiping the host of heaven. They're worshiping the stars, the sun, and the moon, and the sacrifice in the grove. That's what this is. And Isaiah is just full of it. 15, here's your obelisk high tower. And upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall. And the navies of the world are going to go down too on the day of the Lord. In 16, and upon all the ships of Tarshish, and upon all the pleasant pictures. Someone might say, well, where's Tarshish? Listen, it's the spirit of Tarshish. It's the spirit of Babylon. These old empires have not went away. And the creatures, the fallen angels that were in bed with those places, like Tyre and Zidon, they're still here. And they're going to be done away with. And so are all the ships of the world. 17. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. Okay, so there's your arrogance. It is an infection between leaders of the world, between judges, potentates, people in high places. They have their coffers filled with wealth. They do not believe they're going to fall. They do not believe in Jesus Christ, and if they do, they believe they're going to overthrow him. All right? And here's another one in 18, and notice that's 3 6 18, occult numerology. And the idols he shall utterly abolish. Okay, because that's never happened. There's idols everywhere. What do you think that Statue of Liberty is in New York? Is that not Lucifer? An androgynous god? Okay, well, anyway, the idols haven't gone away. Neither have all their places of sacrifice. They're everywhere. There's a giant owl called Moloch there in California. The idols have not went away at all. We have idolatry everywhere. In fact, the temples that people go in and call it Christian, most of that's idolatry too. In 19 here, we have a very famous passage. It's repeated frequently. 19, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. So that's his second coming. That's that foot hitting the Mount of Olives. That's the earth shaking like it's never shook before. And this is a very famous prophecy right here, and it's surely going to be coming to pass. 20, and this is the other part of it that's really very famous, and really famous from the book of Revelations for us studiers. 20, in that day a man shall cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they made each one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats. So the old hardcore idolatry has not left. Yeah, we worship the works of our hands, the drones and the technology and the robots, and we're going to mesh with the robots, and we're going to have chips in us, and our phone's going to be jammed into the back of our head. These people are actually talking about this. A man marrying machine and becoming a god and all that. But even with all that, the old-fashioned talisman god that channels the force to the witch, to the sorcerer, that hasn't gone away either. They shake terribly the earth, and that is real. In other words, it's a similitude, yes, slightly. It is a similitude, but there is actually going to be this earthquake. There's never been anything like it. Earthquakes are going to be increasing and increasing all through the tribulation, which we are about to enter into. 22. 21 here first. It says, to go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. She wanted that one again. And notice it's 21. That's the amount of judgments in the book of Revelations. Seals, trumpets, and vials. 7, 7, and 7. There it is, 21. And then the number of chapters, and it's the number of new beginnings, 22. Here it says, cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of? So there is that. This is all over the second coming here, folks. It just is, and these are famously quoted. They're quoted in Luke, in Hosea, in Revelations. They're in Jeremiah, in the New Testament, in the Old Testament. Yep. These are very, very vivid, and they're just an example of all the good prophecy that we have to look forward to in this teaching. I will see you folks in chapter 3.